Good afternoon. Hello, creative bloke. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to carry on with this. The exposure is a bit funny on the camera. It should do. Yep, just carry on with this for a bit. I'm hoping to get it finished sometime soon, so I can move on to something else. So I'm at a stage now where I've just scrapped the reference because I just didn't like how her old neck was looking. I think I might still have it in here. So this was her old neck. I mean, it does look too long, but I just didn't like the pose of it. The way that the torso was facing forward and her head was turned round. And I know that's what it was like in the reference photo, but it just wasn't working. So yesterday I just decided to scrap the neck and I turned the torso around just to try and balance it out a little bit more. And it just, I think this works a little bit better now. So yeah, I'm just carrying on with this. I've scrapped the reference and I'm basically just winging it now, just making it up as I go along. So I know the direction of the light's coming from up here, down here, because you've got the shadow here, the shadow there. Excuse me. So that's just gonna guide me. Right. So just feel free to ask any questions if you've got any. So I'm just going to do some work on her torso, just sort of tighten it up a bit. Just keep spotting other areas that I want to work on, so I'll just be jumping around a bit. So I've got a new layer. Just gonna add a bit more of a highlight on here. Just experimenting with stuff really, seeing as now I'm not using the reference anymore. So I need to remember the direction of the light, so some light's going to catch. So the top of her neck there. I think this clavicle needs to be darkened down a bit, 'cause this side of her body's going to be more in shadow. So I'll just... Oh, thanks. Glad you like it, and thanks for joining. If you've got any questions, just yeah, just write them and I'll try and answer. Just going to add a bit more contrast. Aye, thanks. No, that's too dark, so it looks like a strap's hovering above her there. No, I don't work in a studio. I'm freelance. I work from home. So yeah. Quite lucky being able to work from home. I love it. It's great. Don't have to worry about commuting or being pulled into office meetings. You just pretty much left to get on with your work, which is what I want to do really, just do the work. This painting that I do, this isn't my day job. This is just something that's kind of like a hobby. You've had a power cut. That's a bit unfortunate. What brushes do I use regularly? I've got a few. You can probably see some down here. I'll just create a new layer and just fill it with white, just so I can demo these. So I've got like a pencil brush which I just use for sketching. I'll just make it a bit bigger. So you know, I can just do quick sketches, just turn smoothing down. Yeah, so I've got a basic pencil brush that I use for sketching, and then there's a fine line brush which is just more solid, and I tend to use that for doing sort of hard edges, eyelashes, that sort of thing. Those two I use. And then I've got sort of a hard brush, and I use that one just for filling in and just adding, you know, where you get sort of creases around the nose. It's nice just to get a nice hard edge that you can just blend in. But then this is the brush that I use the most, and this is just a soft brush. I don't know if I zoom in, you can see it's got a bit of a grain to it. So I use that for all my sort of colour work. They're the main ones that I use really. I use the other ones just every now and again. But these are the main ones. I am going to upload all these brushes to my Cube Brush account at some point. I'll upload them for free because basically these are brushes that I've found on the web. So I don't see why I should download brushes that I've found and then try and sell them. I don't think that's right. So I will upload these at some point. I just need to sort them a bit more. No, this isn't for my... Well, it kind of is for my portfolio because I would like to do a bit more painting work, but it's mainly more for practice, and I just wanted to get my 2D painting skills up to scratch, because I mainly do 3D a lot of the time. So it's just nice to have a break from the 3D and work on something 2D. Yeah, this is Photoshop. I haven't really tried anything else yet. I keep meaning to try some different apps, but I just enjoy working in Photoshop, and I've got kind of a nice routine with it now. Right. Oop. So you see, I'll use this soft brush mostly when I'm working on the skin, because look, I can just blend these tones into each other. And I'm using this Pro Pen 3D, so you've got the extra button there. But if you have a Pro Pen 2, you could just set one of these, and I just have that set as an alt, so I can just colour pick quickly, sort of like that, colour pick, then blend in, colour pick, and blend in. Oh, this is the new Pro Pen. This is the Pro Pen 3D. With, you know, with the extra button here. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's just a technique that I sort of developed. I tried watching YouTube videos and to get an idea of how to do painting, but it just didn't feel right to me. So I just spent some time just developing my own sort of techniques that work for me. This is the Wacom MobileStudioPro. It's the MobileStudioPro 16. It's not an iPad Pro. How do I get so realistic? I don't know, to be honest. I think it's just practice and just being observant. There's a few things that I've noticed when I'm painting that sort of do make a difference. Things like the whites and the highlights on the skin. Once you start adding those in, then it starts to look a bit more realistic. And it's just, you know, keeping true to skin tones and things. Her armpit a bit darker because it's in shadow. See, I'm looking at this now and I think her arm there looks a bit too big, a bit too chunky. You know, she's got this long, thin neck, and the arm there looks a bit big. I think somebody popped up earlier and asked about the long necks. It's basically just a style I was playing around with. I used to, when I was starting out, I was using an iPad Pro before, and when I was starting on that, I was doing, you know, just copying photos and trying to do realistic photos, portraits, and it just didn't feel like me. I like quite stylized artwork. So I just thought I'd experiment and play around with the features and things and just see what I could come up with that I kind of liked. And the first thing I did was I just made the necks longer, the bodies smaller, and the heads, you know, bigger. And in some of them I make the eyes bigger, you know, the face is longer. I just play around with the features. But the long neck thing just seems to have stuck. So Yeah, at the moment, for when I'm doing my painting, it's just Photoshop. Um, I I have been tempted to try a few other things, but to be honest, I'm so comfortable using this that I don't want to change at the moment. So I'm just adjusting this strap just to make it fit on the shoulder a bit better. Well, I use reference photos to start off with, and that gives me an idea of, you know, the light, the shadows, the features, and then once I get to a certain stage with the reference photo, I get rid of that, and then I just start working on it myself. Like I was showing earlier, and you might have seen if you follow my feed, is in the reference photo, she had a body like this. Now I know this neck's too long. It was just an early, really quick drawing, but in the reference photo, her body's facing forward and her head's turned to the side. But because I make the necks longer, that didn't really work, and I struggled with that for a long time. And I did think there was something I didn't like about it, and I just thought I might just end up scrapping it and doing something else. But then I just thought, well, I like the head, so let's just redo the body. So I just made up the body, turned it to the side, just so it fits with the pose a bit better, and I think it certainly feels a lot better. Right, so I've thinned down the arm. That looks a lot better. I'm a lot happier with that. So I think because we've got the light coming down from here, I just want to make this side of her face a bit darker. There isn't a backlight. Well, I don't know. I could add a backlight, I suppose. The hair. Okay. I get asked this a lot, so let's start with a blank canvas. Like that. So I'm just going to start with a sort of a mid colour. So let's do it sort of a blonde. That a bit darker, just so it'll show up on here. So basically I start with a base colour. So let's just say these are the strands of hair. You know, it's quite a thick brush and it's quite rough. And this is probably a bit too light, so let's just darken that down a bit, as it's a mid colour. So start off with a base colour, and then I just go in with maybe a darker colour, a bit more saturation, and then with a thinner brush, but I'll make it slightly thicker just so it shows up on here. So make sure your smoothing is turned up, maybe about 30. And then just do it again, but then you're working with a thinner brush and you just add in the strokes. Just redo them. It's better. So I'm just using sort of a light and I find with the hair it's just about building up the layers. So they're slightly darker, and then we go in and we make it darker again, a bit more saturation maybe, depending on what the colour is you want. I always add a different layer as well, just to so you see, because we're building up the layers, we're getting it to look thicker. It still looks flat, but we've not added in any highlights or anything yet. So because I'm happy with that, I'm going to merge that layer down, add another one, and then again we can just go in and we can just keep adding different shades and things. But what I can then do is, when I'm happy with that, I can add a new layer, sort of press Alt so that it sort of connects to the layer below, so it's only just affecting that layer. Oop. It's a bit annoying when it does this. Right, so use a larger brush, and then let's say we want the highlight in the middle. Because I've got this set up like this and it'll only affect that layer, I can go in with a darker brush like so, and then so that'll darken there, and then we could darken the top. Actually, I'm going to merge, let's get rid of that. I'm going to merge that down so it affects the base layer as well. So again, create another layer, hold down Alt so it only affects this layer. So I'm just going to add some shading at the top and the bottom. It's doing this silly thing with a, that's it. What we can also do is just add in, just some separation bits for the hair. So when we're happy with that, we can merge that down, add another layer, and then this time we can start adding in the highlights. So I'm just going to use a white brush, a white colour. And I'm not bothered that it looks quite harsh down here, because we're just going to erase that. And this is just quite quick and rough, so you'll have to bear with me. Then just use the eraser with a soft brush. And then we can kind of just soften the edges down. So you can kind of get the idea. That's sort of how you build it up. Then when you're happy, just merge that down, and you just continue like that. So if I want some bits that are darker, I'll maybe just, maybe even just use a black brush, a black colour, and say, I want a bit more shadow under there. Maybe just separate some of the strokes here. So it's just about building up the layers. So that's basically, you can't really tell on there because I'm looking at it now and the exposure's wrong, so the highlight bits are too light. I wonder if I can zoom in. It's really quick, but that's basically how I do the hair. I just build it up a bit at a time. Start off with a medium colour and then just add darker strokes, then sort of add lighter strokes, and then the key thing is getting the highlights in and getting the nice blends between the areas that are in shadow and the areas that are light. Once you get those blends in between the highlights and the shadows, that's when the hair starts coming to life. I mean, this is just the way I do it. I'm sure there's probably people out there who do it a lot differently. I've got a YouTube channel. I've been... What I tend to do is upload some of these live streams on there, but I have been toying with the idea of doing some basic tutorials like this and then uploading them. I guess if people want to see them, then I'll do them. You just have to let me know. So yeah, so that's basically how I do hair. If you missed it, this will be my story for the next 24 hours. So just to, you know, you can always catch up on there. Right, I'm gonna delete this now. Go back to this. Right, I need to remember what I was doing. So I think I was going to darken that side of her face a bit. So just select a darker colour. Because the light's coming from the top, we've got a shadow here and a shadow on her nose. So that side of her face needs to be in shadow as well, which also means this hair's too light, unless there's a backlight. But we'll see. I've got that hair on a separate layer, so I can always tweak that and change that colour later if it doesn't look right. So let's darken down this side of her face. Hi everybody, hello to those that have just joined. I've just done sort of a quick demo of how I do the hair. So if you missed it, it'll be in the video will be in my story for the next 24 hours, so you can always catch up there. I get asked about how I do hair quite a lot, so I'll probably do a tutorial and stick it up on YouTube. The demo I did earlier was quite quick, so, but to be fair, the way I do hair isn't that complicated. It's just the way that works for me. I'm thinking that's maybe looking a bit too dark now. Maybe drop it down. I only want it a little bit darker. I guess it's complete. Well, there's two reasons why you call a piece of work complete. The first one would be if somebody's paying you to do it and you've got a deadline, then you basically hit that deadline and then you have to say it's complete. But because I'm doing this and it's sort of in my spare time, I can quite happily tinker around with it. But I just basically say it's complete when I'm happy with it. I'm nearly happy with this, but every time I come back to it, I see another area that I'm not sure about. One good thing to do if you're working on a piece and you get to a stage where you think, right, I can't see anything else that I want to change, just flip your canvas. Just flip it horizontally, and just that fresh perspective will highlight lots of issues, like things that I didn't see before. Now I can are probably standing out a bit more. Like the lighting around here looks a bit maybe too harsh. But I can come back to that later. So that's just a tip. If you're ever at a stage where you think you're finished, flip the canvas. But then you should always be flipping your canvas anyway. I once worked on a piece where I think there was a girl and she was looking forward, but she had her head tilted slightly, and I was happily working away on it, and there was just something wrong. And it wasn't until I flipped the canvas that I realised that one of the eyes was really high and the other one was really low, and she just looked really weird. So that's where sort of flipping the canvas can help. So just darkening down that side of her face a bit. I think it's maybe a bit too much. That's fine. See, her ear still needs some work, and her hair, and her body, and her lips. So it's constant. Hi everybody who's just joined. I did a hair demo earlier, so if you want to catch up with it when this goes in my story later, then feel free to. It was just a quick demo, but I get asked a lot about how I do hair, so hopefully it'll help. Right. So I think this is too in shade, so I'm just going to brighten this up. It's probably because I made the arm thinner. It's a bit better. So feel free to ask any questions or anything, and I'll try my best to answer or demonstrate. Or I also showed earlier what some of my favourite brushes are that I use from here, and I'm going to upload these brushes to my Cube Brush account at some point. I'll probably do it soon. I just need to sort a few more of them out, but so I'm a bit all over the place at the moment because I'm at the stage where I'm nearly done with her, but I'm just going in and finding like final tweaks to do. I think her lips maybe need a bit more work. You know, we've got this light coming down from here, so maybe a bit more of a highlight. Not sure what these requests are to be in the video. How does that work? Why do you want to be in the video? Just curious, that's all, isn't it? You know, I've never done it before, so I don't know how it works really. Yeah, I can upload it to YouTube if you want. I've got a few others that I've uploaded there. If you're working in black and white, let me see if I can find another example. I think this has got a black and white version in. Yep. So basically, this is the layer with the skin on. All you do is come down here and add a gradient map adjustment layer. Just make sure it only affects that layer. Just hold down Alt and then click the layer below it. And as you see, it's converted the black and white into colours, and you've got this gradient map here. Excuse me. All you do then is you just go in and you play around with the values in this gradient. Now I've got like a basic one already set up, which sort of just gives me basic shadows and lighter tones. But you can just go in and adjust these. So make that lighter. So you can see we're starting to get just some sort of basic colours in. So let's say we're happy with that. I can then merge that down, and that's baked into that layer. Then I create another layer. Again, just make sure it affects the layer below by holding Alt, but then change that to a colour blending mode. So all you're affecting is the colour. And then let's say we just want to add a bit of blue. So add a bit of blue to the highlights. We can then come in and paint that in. It's probably a bit harsh there at the moment. And then we can just come in and maybe add a bit of red. And this is just a quick demo, but you know, add a bit of red around there, just where the shadows are, maybe around the nose and the lips. And then maybe we want some orange in there as well, just to start working out those skin tones. Don't know if you can see that on there, but you know, you just use your colour layer, and then if it looks too much, you can always change the opacity. Then you just merge it down and then repeat and repeat and repeat until you get your colour version like that. So you can see here I've added in, you know, reds, purples, blues, oranges, and all sorts around there. I mean, it does take a while to do, so you're not going to do it quickly, but that's just basically the process that I used to do when I used to paint in black and white first. So you just add a gradient map adjustment layer, and then use layers with a color blending mode on top of that, to then start building up all your different skin tones and color tones and, you know, that sort of stuff. So that, yeah, that's basically how I go from black and white to color. But I will do a tutorial on that at some point as well when I get time. I'm not going to save that. So yeah, back onto this, which is what I'm working on at the moment. Got any more questions? Just fire them over. I'll probably be on for another 5 minutes or so. I will save this video and upload it to YouTube, and it'll be in my story for 24 hours, so feel free to refer back to it. Covered quite a few things in this video now, so hope it's been useful. If it has been useful, then please let me know. This is the MobileStudioPro. So it's basically, it's the whole computer in one. You don't plug it into a PC or something and then work from it that way. I mean, you do have the option to do that with it, but this is the one, it's got all the PC in it, so you can just take it and, you know, I can go work outside if I want to. So I'm just adding in some harder edges. So what I do is just get a harder brush, paint it in, and then I can go in with the eraser and then just soften the edge like that. So we've still got our crease, but then it's just blended in. So I'm just going round and just tinkering with this now, just working on sort of the final bits before it's finished. If you like these live feeds, I'll try and do some more. No, I never use the smudge tool. Whenever I'm blending, it is basically, I'll just add another layer, just show you. So let's say we've got a medium colour like this. Just make sure that is a separate layer. That's it. I'll I've got smoothing set up, that's why it's not. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people use a smudge tool. I just prefer to just do it manually. So I've got my base colour, create another layer. I'll then use a soft brush and gradually sort of build up the highlights. So let's say we wanted a highlight along the top. Like so. Maybe a medium colour. Blend that in like so. Then we go down to the shadows. Just make that a bit bigger. I mean, that should be a bit redder. If it's going to be skin. But it's just, I've got Alt set on here, on this button. So it's easy for me to just quickly pick a colour, blend. And this tablet's really nice because you can just do a really light stroke. So pick a colour. And just blend. And then we come in, what I normally do with my highlights, use a harder brush, you know, to get that in. And then if I ever go too far, I can just go in with the eraser and just soften it. You know, just kind of like that. That's basically it. But no, I don't use a smudge tool. I just use a soft sort of airbrush type brush and just blend it like that. Just adding it, and then if I've added too much, take it away. If you just keep on different layers, you can also then use the opacity to bring those back. Get rid of them. Not sure what that layer is. Oh, quick tip for you. If you're like me and you end up with loads of extra layers, you can quickly just go to File, Scripts, delete all empty layers, and then it'll go through and just get rid of all them for you. That's something that I've just found recently, and it's really useful. Because I'm forever adding a layer and then I forget that I've added it, and you know, I'm sure you all do the same. So just like here, I've added this shadow in here. I don't know if you can see it, it's maybe, but because that edge is too hard, I can just go in with the eraser and just soften it. Like that. Right, I think I'm gonna call it a day with today's stream. I will save it and upload it to YouTube. Maybe tomorrow if I get time, but it's also going to be in my story, so feel free to re-watch it there. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know, and I will try and do more live streams, do them more regularly. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Oh, good. I'm glad it was very useful. I was just about to quit then, and then you popped up with that. Right, I am going now, so bye.